How to build an argument. Part 1. The basic thesis statement. When writing an analytical essay, there is one sentence that stands out as the most important sentence of all. It is the heart of your paper. This is the sentence that defines your argument and lays out the framework for what you plan to defend. That sentence is the thesis statement. Everything else, the topic sentences, quotes, analysis, and examples, are there to support the thesis and give life to your argument. In literature, the thesis statement is typically found in the middle of the introductory paragraph. However, in history, the thesis is often the last sentence. So what should a good thesis statement do? It should serve as a map to follow through the paper, prepare the reader for what they will read, keep the reader focused on the argument, help the reader spot the main ideas, take a clear position, and be debatable. Ultimately, the thesis statement is the answer to the question being asked, and you should use the question or prompt to guide your crafting of the thesis statement. Before we dive into writing the thesis, it is helpful to know that there is a formula that can guide you. The basic thesis formula looks like this. Subject, the central subject of your paper. Opinion, your argument. Reason, because, the reasons behind your opinion. Now let's try crafting a thesis. Using the short story To Build a Fire by Jack London as a basis, we've been assigned this question. In the story To Build a Fire, the main character, the man, suffers a series of setbacks and miscalculations, which lead to his death. What was ultimately the most important factor that led to the man's demise? First, let's identify what the question is asking. Number 1, it suggests that there were many factors that led to his death, which means you have to think back to all the instances that led to the man's death. Number 2, you have to decide which one factor was the most important, the one that truly caused his death. Number 3, brainstorm through some possibilities. 1, weather. 2, isolation. 3, he was not prepared. 4, he disregarded advice. 5, he was cocky. 6, he was alone. Let's try the formula. Subject, the man's overconfidence in himself. Opinion, was the most important factor that led to his demise. Reason, because it caused the man to be ignorant to the cold around him and to disregard important advice that would have saved his life. Notice that wherever I can, I'm using the exact language of the question. This will help keep me on track. Next, simply write this out as a full sentence. The man's overconfidence in himself was the most important factor that led to his demise, because it caused the man to be ignorant to the cold around him and to disregard important advice that would have saved his life. So there is our basic thesis sentence. Now, if you really want to make sure that the rest of your essay is clearly supporting your thesis, then there is one more step that can really help. Underline the key details of your argument. These are the points of reference that you will later analyze. The man's overconfidence in himself was the most important factor that led to his demise, because it caused the man to be ignorant to the cold around him and to disregard important advice that would have saved his life. These are the key points. Overconfidence, that was the most important factor. The man's demise, he was ignorant to the cold, and he disregarded important advice, which could have saved his life. You will look for evidence to prove these reasons, but there will be more on that in another lesson. A last thought. If you find it difficult to support your thesis with evidence as you write, then you may need to go back to your original statement and revise it. This means that it is a working thesis statement.